Namaste, beautiful yogis. This is going to be level 1 to Vinyasa class, power yoga class, with intense planks, a lot of core work, moderate flow. Let's begin at the front of our mat, feet together, coming into Tadasana. Roll your shoulders back and down, opening the space between your collarbones, lifting through your sternum. Open the palms of your hands up and begin to deepen your breath, beginning to make a conscious connection with your core. With each inhalation, open the chest wider, and as you exhale, let your feet sink a little deeper into your mat. And you can bring your hands over just above the area of your heart, vibrantly breathing in, exhaling softly. And let's take a big breath in, bring the hands up and over your head. Exhale halfway down, keeping your back flat, belly in, and exhale all the way down into a forward bend. Hands on the floor, or you can grab your calves. Uttanasana. And let's bring the hands, clasping the hands behind the head, gently gliding the hands down the neck in the base of the skull, allowing for decompression to occur in your spine and in your neck. Releasing the hands down on the floor, look ahead of you, belly in. Exhale, softly folding into a forward bend. Trying to keep your stretches soft and gentle in the beginning of your practice, consciously moving into your poses, observing your breath and following your breath as your guide. And let's sit back in chair pose. Utkatasana. Bring your hands behind you, clasping the hands, belly in, open the chest and roll your right shoulder up, keeping your knees square, hips square here. Look up above your right shoulder. Come back to center, lengthening the back of your neck here and over to the other side, pressing the hands away from your back and up. Softly breathing. And exhale, folding the ribcage over your thighs. Press your hands up away from you and back towards the floor, or down towards the floor. To come out of this slowly, keep your back around it and roll out of it like a ragdoll. Coming all the way up to standing, hands over the head. Inhale, big breath in. Exhale, all the way down. Inhale, belly in, look ahead of you. And let's step into plank. Spread the fingers wide open here. Keep your chest open, sinking the chest between your shoulders. Pull your belly in, press your heels away from you, inner thighs, squeezing towards the midline, looking a few inches in front of you, relaxing the neck, the jaw, the face muscles, softening the gaze. Trying to keep a straight line. The back is wide and the shoulders are away from the ears, keeping your neck spacious. Shoulder blades are tucked into the back. Slowly lower down, Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Roll the shoulders back and down, lengthen the back of your neck, press your toes down into your mat. Back to Chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Pull the belly in and up, reinforcing your locks. Spread the fingers wide open, shoulders away from your ears. The ears are between the triceps. Feet are parallel to each other, hip width apart. Tailbone is pressing up towards the sky. Palms of the hands are slightly lifted off the mat, base of the fingers on the mat. And let's step the feet at the front of the mat. Exhale, folding into a forward bend, Uttanasana. You can grab your calves here and go a little deeper into this forward bend, but still allowing the crown, the top of the head, to be extending down towards the floor rather than pulling your forehead towards your shin bones. And to come out of this, sweep your hands all the way over your head. Exhale over the third eye. Exhale over the heart. Big breath in, chair pose. Hands over the head, hips back. Pressing into all four corners of each foot. Inner thighs working. Lifting the chest away from your legs here. Breathe. Exhale, hands on the floor. Forward fold. Inhale. Look ahead of you, lengthen the back of your neck. Hands on the floor. Step into plank. Open the chest. Drop the shoulders away from your ears. Press your heels away from you. Being aware and conscious of every part of your body here. Being aware and conscious of your breath. Nice deep inhalations followed by complete and soft exhalations. Slowly lower down, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Vibrant heart. Back to Chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Pulling the belly in and up. Pulling the navel towards the spine here and up towards the solar plexus. The shoulders are away from your ears. Spinning the triceps inward towards the ears. And let's take the right knee into the chest and bring your leg across from you, bringing the foot down on the floor into a modified side plank pose. Right hand is on the floor directly underneath your right shoulder. Bring your left arm up. Keep your sides lifted and your hips lifted here. Inner thighs again working towards the midline. And let's extend the hand over the head and back on the floor. Knee in, step into plank. You can press back in downward facing dog, and let's go over to the left side. Left knee comes into the rib cage, left leg comes across, and on the floor, lift your hips and your obliques here. Arms are reaching away from each other, opening the chest, widening the back. Keep your breath going. Keep the integrity of the pose. And let's extend our right arm up and over the head, back, hands on the floor, plank, knee in, stepping down into plank, Chaturanga Dandasana, upward facing dog. Lifting the kneecaps here, extending the tailbone down, and back to Chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Coming back to your breath, nice deep inhalations, complete exhalations. Big breath in, and let's exhale and bring the right knee into the rib cage and across from our body, again down on the floor. The foot is on the floor, the legs are crossed, and we're gonna take this time the left hand underneath the rib cage, reaching as if you're trying to touch something underneath and behind you. 8 on each side. Continue 5 more. really trying to bring your hand underneath and reach behind. Keep the alignment here, hips lifted. When you're done, you can bring your hands on the floor, knee in, plank, back to downward facing dog, over to the other side. Exhale your knee into your rib cage, bring your foot across from your body, come into side plank and begin to reach underneath your rib cage here, keeping your hips lifted the entire time, keeping your breath going. A few more, moving slowly and consciously. And let's extend the right arm over the head, back to plank, knee in, stepping back in plank, chaturanga, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, Chaturanga Dandasana, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Spread your fingers wide open, make sure to check in with your shoulders here, and you can walk in place, lifting the tailbone as high as you can. Be mindful of overextending your elbows here. And let's bring the right knee into the chest one more time. Bring your foot across, coming into side plank. And let's bring the hand behind the head and begin to bring opposite elbow to knee. Squeeze it in. Left elbow, right knee. Again, pulling the belly in, exhaling on an exertion. Trying to keeping the hips lifted the entire time. Maintaining stability. And let's extend the hand over the head and step back into plank, knee in. Press back into downward facing dog. Let's go over to the other side. Left knee comes in. Bring your foot across, hand behind your head, opposite elbow to knee. Moving slowly, maintaining the alignment here. Trying not to swing. Gently moving the knee in towards the elbow, pulling the belly in. A few more of those. Breathe. Extending the arm over the head, back into plank with the knee in, and press all the way back into downward facing dog, plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, chaturanga, downward facing dog. Pull the belly in and up, lowering the heels gently towards the floor. Bring your right foot and then left at the front of your mat. Exhale, forward fold. Breathe here into your hamstrings, into your calves, into your lower back, hips, glutes. We're stretching the entire posterior chain of the body, allowing for the head and the spine to relax, decompress. Hands on the floor, inhale, look ahead of you, and sweep your hands all the way over your head, coming into mountain pose, hands over the heart. Big breath in, chair pose, Utkatasana. Press your hips as far back as you can so that your knees are back. Keep your knees square. And let's bring the hands on the floor. Forward fold. Inhale, look ahead of you. Belly in. Hands on the floor. Jump or step back into plank. Open the chest. Pull the belly in. Squeeze the inner thighs towards the midline. And let's bring the right knee towards the left elbow and then switch. This was the demonstration, and now we're going to start with 10 reps Bringing the knees across from your body, knee towards the opposite elbow. Keeping your hips aligned. When you're done with your 10 reps, move through your vinyasa, upward dog, chaturanga, and exhale back into downward facing dog. Keeping the back wide and the shoulder blades tucked into the back. Take the right leg up, step your right foot between your hands, come up, warrior one. Virabhadrasana 1. You can clasp your fingers here, keeping the index fingers pointing, or you can just reach up towards the ceiling, extending the tailbone slightly down. As you exhale, lower down onto the floor, plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, back to chaturanga, exhale, downward facing dog. Take your left leg up, step your left foot between your hands, bring your back heel down on the floor, come up, warrior one. On the left side, sink a little deeper, press into the outer edge of your right foot, lifting the arch of your right foot off the mat. Shoulders down, shoulder blades tucked into your back, extending the tailbone down slightly. Exhale, lower all the way to the floor, step into plank. And let's bring the right knee towards the right elbow and left knee towards the left elbow. This was demonstration, and now start for 10 reps, right and left, 5 on each side, alternating. Keeping the hips lifted, gazing slightly ahead of you. Contracting the obliques here, and when you're done, move through your vinyasa all the way back to downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg comes up. Exhale, right foot between your hands, come up, warrior one, pressing into the outer edge of the left foot here. And let's bring the hands behind us, clasping the hands. Walk your hands down your left leg and lift through your sternum, opening the chest. Breathe. Keeping the front knee bent. And let's come out of this and lower down and move through your vinyasa. Second chaturanga is optional. Back to downward dog, and let's take the left leg up, step your left foot between your hands, come up, warrior one. Exhale, your hands behind you, reversing the clasp, the grip here. Walk your hands down your right leg, look up. Relax the shoulders, soften the chest. And let's release, lift the hands over the head and down on the floor, plank. We're gonna bring again opposite knee to elbow, 10 repetitions again, 5 on each side, alternating sides. Keep your heels pressing away from you. Keep your chest open. Hips square. When you're done, move into chaturanga, upward facing dog, chaturanga, downward facing dog. Exhale, soften. Breathe into your hamstrings here. Take your right leg up, step your right foot between your hands. Come up, warrior one. Hands behind your back, clasping, lifting through your sternum. Open. This time we're gonna bring the chest over the right thigh and shift the weight onto the right leg, coming into warrior three with the hands still behind us. You can hold a towel here. If you can't clasp, obviously just bring your hands out to the sides for balance. And come back into Vira 1, lower down, plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, chaturanga, downward facing dog. Move with your breath. Inhale, left leg comes up, exhale, left foot between your hands, pressing into the outer edge of your right foot, come up. Warrior 1, hands behind your back, reversing the grip. Open the chest, walk your hands down the extended leg. Begin to lower your chest over your left leg. Once your chest is parallel to the floor, pressing the hands away from you, shift your weight onto your left foot, coming into warrior 3. Balancing here, you can flex your foot and point the toes down towards the floor, or bring the toes, all 5 toes down towards the floor. Slowly step all the way back into warrior 1, and let's bring the hands on the floor. Stepping back into plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, tucking the tailbone under, back to chaturanga, exhale, downward facing dog. And let's step the feet at the front of the mat. Exhale, bow down, forward bend. Walk your feet about hip width apart here. And you can bring your hands, if you're flexible, you can bring your hands back and around. So each hand is grabbing the opposite shin bone, threading them between the legs. Otherwise, you can just hold your legs, calves, hamstrings. Stay at your level. Inhale, and let's keep the back straight and come all the way up to standing mountain pose. Hands over the heart. And let's bring the hands by the sides. Step your feet about hip width apart. Toes pointing forward, hands on the hips, and we're gonna bring the left hand up and over the head, keeping your hips, shoulders, rib cage aligned here in the same plane, in maintaining a slight extension in the tailbone. Belly is in and shoulders are down as you reach over to the other side. Come back to center, and we're gonna repeat. Bring your left hand up and over. Shoulders are aligning, staying in the same plane. Really lengthening both sides of the torso here. And in switching sides, bring your right hand up and over. Shoulder is down, the palm of the hand is facing down. And come out of this. Over to the left side. Here I'm actually opening my chest up. You can experiment with that if you're confident in your lower back and if you know how to tuck your tailbone under. Planting both feet equally in the floor as you reach over to the other side. And let's bring the hands over the heart. Step your feet together and sit back to your pose. Shoulders down, hips all the way back. Inner thigh squeezing towards the midline. Bring your hands down on the floor. Straighten your legs into a forward bend. Exhale, bow down. Inhale, look ahead of you. Hands on the floor, jump or step back into plank. And we're gonna do 10 knee tucks. Knee between the elbows, 5 on each side, alternating sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, extend, keeping your belly strong. Lower down, Chaturanga, upward facing dog, back to Chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Pull the belly in and up. Mula Bandha active. Inhale, right leg comes up. Exhale, right foot between your hands. Inhale, come up, warrior one. Hips facing forward. And now we're gonna take a little wider stance and open into warrior two. Vira two. Relaxing the shoulders, softening the gaze. The right knee is aligning with the toes. The knee is pointing exactly forward, the same direction the toes are pointed at. The left hip is externally rotating, lifting the left kneecap, lifting the arch on the left foot. And let's exhale the hands down on the floor, stepping back plank. Chaturanga, upward facing dog. Back to Chaturanga and exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg comes up. Exhale, left foot between your hands. Drop the back heel down on the floor and come up, strong warrior one. Moving into warrior two, taking wider stance here, externally rotating the right hip. Here, sink a little deeper into your warrior. Drop your shoulders down. Soften your gaze, looking ahead of you. Extending the tailbone slightly down. Deepening the breath. And let's exhale the hands all the way down on the floor, stepping back into plank. Holding plank, strong plank. And this time we're gonna just bring the knee across and grab it with the opposite hand. 10 of those, 5 on each side. 2, 3, 4, opposite hand to knee. 5, 6, 7, keeping the hips steady. 8, 9, last one. Back to plank and Chaturanga, upward facing dog, back, moving through a second Chaturanga and into downward facing dog. Staying present in your breath. Inhale, right leg comes up one more time, right foot between the hands, step it through, come up, warrior one, hands over the third eye, warrior two. This time we're gonna turn the right palm of the hand up and glide the left hand down the left leg. Keep your right knee bent, reversing your warrior here, lengthening both sides of your torso, and let's turn the right palm down and back towards us. From here we're gonna exit this pose, go all the way down on the floor, plank, upward facing dog, back to Chaturanga and downward facing dog. Take the left leg up, exhale your foot between your hands, come up, warrior one. And let's open into warrior two. Nice big breath. Turn the left palm up and sweep your hand up and over your head. Palm of the hand down. Keeping the left knee bent, lengthening and breathe into your obliques here, lengthening both sides of your torso here. Relax your left shoulder and let's windmill the hands all the way to the floor, plank, knee tucks, And let's bring alternating left and right knees in between the elbows up towards the chest. 5 on each side, switching sides. Keep your hips steady, your breath steady, your chest open, moving with steadiness and control. Belly in, contracting the belly and exhaling on contraction. When you're done with your 10 reps, move through your vinyasa all the way back into downward facing dog. Let's take the right leg one more time up and between the hands. Come up, warrior 1, and we're gonna open one more time into warrior 2, Vira 2. Turn your right hand up and reverse your warrior here. Walking the left hand down the left leg, and this time we're gonna reach ahead of us and lower the right hand on the inside of the right foot. If you're not very flexible, you can keep your elbow over your knee here and extend your left arm up and over the head, palm of the hand facing down, lengthening both sides of the torso, opening the left rib cage up, spin it open up towards the ceiling. And let's bring both hands on the inside of the right foot. Hips are level, lower your back knee down on the floor. Keep your knee all the way as far back as you can so that the contact with the floor that you make is area above your kneecap. You're not bringing your joint on the floor, the area just above your joint. Tuck your tailbone under and breathe into your hip flexor. To come out of it, step in plank and move through a chaturanga. Upward facing dog, an optional second chaturanga and downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg comes up. Step your left foot between your hands and come up. Warrior 1, opening into warrior 2. Turn the left palm up and reach up and over your head all the way towards the back of the room. Coming out of this and lower your hand down on the floor or your left elbow over your left knee. We're gonna extend the right arm up and over the head and try to really lengthen through the fingertips here. Vibrant fingertips, opening the right rib cage, lengthening the sides of the torso here. When you're done, bring both hands on the inside of your left foot. Tuck your tailbone under, lowering the right knee on the floor, making sure that your knee doesn't come over your toes. Keep your knee back, either above your ankle or back, a little further back. It's fine too, just not over your toes. Breathe into your hip flexors here and try to stay in the place where the stretch is mild, especially when we're stretching hip flexors. Try not to overstretch. You're not doing your body a favor and you're not gonna have a shortcut to flexibility. Just try to stay moderate and be patient with stretching your hip flexors, and the gains will be more long term. Really connecting the stretch with your breath. Continue exhaling through your hip flexor, your quadriceps, left hamstring here, left hip. And let's step out of it all the way to plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, and back to downward facing dog. Coming back to your breath, connecting with your bandhas. Let your head be heavy. And let's step the feet at the front of the mat. Exhale, bow down. You can hug your legs here, your calves. Breathe into your hamstrings. Soften your breath. You can shake your head here, yes and no. looking over to one side and then the other, making sure there is no tension in your neck. Great. And keeping your back straight, let's come out of this all the way up to standing mountain pose, Tadasana. Coming back to your center, observing the central axis of the body here. Great, and let's inhale the hands over the head, step your feet about hip width apart, and we're gonna bring the right hand down the right hip and left arm up and over the head. Side stretches, and let's switch sides. Right arm comes up and over the head, stretching both sides equally, lengthening the spine, lengthening the obliques. Let's go over to the left side. Left arm comes up and over the head, reaching over to the right, planting the feet equally into the floor. Make sure you're pressing the right and the left foot down. Switch sides again, making sure you're keeping your awareness in your feet and legs. And let's continue again. Left arm reaches up and over, pressing the feet down, lengthening the tailbone down and extending the spine. And over to the other side. Relax your shoulders down. Lift. Lengthen. Let's come back to center. Reach both hands over your head. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, look ahead of you, belly in. And let's prepare for crow pose here. We're gonna bring the hands down on the floor, spread the fingers open, hands are shoulder width apart. You're gonna walk your knees. You're gonna walk your knees as high onto your triceps as you can. It does help to have a long sleeve t-shirt on. And if you can, jump all the way back into plank or into chaturanga. Upward facing dog and back to downward facing dog. Spread the fingers wide open, take the right leg up. Step your right foot between your hands. Lower the left heel down on the floor and come up, warrior two. Sink a little deeper into your warrior. Straighten your legs here and let's lengthen both sides of the torso, reaching with your right hand all the way ahead of you. Lower down. Lengthening both sides of the torso, let's extend the left arm up and ahead of us, palm of the hand facing down, shoulder relaxing down, externally rotating the left hip here. And we're gonna transition into revolving Ardha Chandrasana half moon pose here by bringing that extended left hand down on the floor in front of the right foot. At the same time, lift your back leg behind you to parallel to the floor. Open the right arm up. Slowly step back into lunge, bringing the left hand on the inside of the right foot, twisting. Extend the right hand over your head, lengthen. And let's bring both hands or forearms on the floor, lowering the back heel on the floor. Stretching the hip flexors a little deeper here. Great, and let's step into plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, back to chaturanga, and exhale in downward facing dog. Pull the belly in and up, and soften your breath. Let's take the left leg up. Exhale, left foot between the hands. Inhale, come up, warrior two, Viratun. And let's straighten both legs. lengthening the torso, reach way ahead of you and lower your left hand on the floor or on your shin bone, Trikonasana, Utthita Trikonasana. Arms are reaching away from each other, right hip externally rotating, kneecaps lifted. Lifting the arches of the feet, let's extend the right hand up and over the head, creating a long line. You can look up underneath your shoulder. Great. And let's bring that same extended right hand down on the floor in front of the left foot for revolving half moon pose. Parivrtta Parsvakonasana. Flex your foot, open your chest, widen the back, lengthen the spine, hips are square. And from here we're gonna step back in lunge, bring or glide your right hand down on the inner side of your left foot, extend your left arm up and over the head, and let's bring both hands on the floor, on the inside of the left foot. Lower your back knee down on the floor. You can bring your elbows or your forearms on the floor. I'm practicing in 100-degree weather. It's extremely hot. Incredible heat. Great, and let's come back up and step into plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, back to chaturanga, exhale in downward facing dog. Inhale, the right leg comes up, step your right foot between your hands, bring the back heel down on the floor and come up. Warrior 2, straightening the knees again, lengthen, reach with your right hand way ahead of you and come into triangle pose one more time. Keeping your right hand either on your shin bone or on the floor or on your foot. Try to maintain the alignment here, keeping both sides of the torso lengthening and externally rotating the left hip. And we're slowly gonna glide the right hand on the floor in front of the right foot, coming into half moon pose. Standing half moon. And let's extend the left hand up and over the head. Bring both hands down on the floor for standing half splits. And you can take a small hop back into chaturanga, upward facing dog, chaturanga, exhale, downward facing dog. Take your left leg up, exhale your left foot between your hands. Come up, warrior 2. Straightening both legs. Reach way ahead of you. And lower down, triangle pose. Pay attention to your footwork here. Lift your both kneecaps, but pay attention to your left kneecap here and press your left femur back into the hip bone. Keep externally rotating the right hip here, lengthening both sides of the torso. Now we are gonna look ahead of us and glide the left hand on the floor in front of the left foot, coming to Ardha Chandrasana. Flex your right foot here. Breathe. Keep lengthening both sides of the torso. Keep opening the right hip up. If you can look up at your right hand. Slowly coming out of this, bring both hands on the floor. Standing half splits, lower down. hands pressing into the floor, and take a small hop into Chaturanga and open into upward facing dog and back to Chaturanga, and exhale in downward facing dog. Pull the belly in and up, breathe into your hamstrings. Inhale, right leg comes up, exhale, right foot between your hands. Inhale, come up, warrior two. Reach way ahead of you and bring your right hand on the floor in front of the right foot for standing half moon pose. Either stay in half moon or you can progress it into a bound half moon, holding your foot behind you. See if you can find your ankle or your foot, grab it behind you, tuck the tailbone under. The next level, optional, is to lower your chest over the right foot, still holding your left foot. Great. From here we're gonna square the hips and come into warrior three, hands over the heart. Slowly trying not to touch the floor, come up to standing on your right leg, bringing the left knee into your rib cage. Focus on your balance here, focus on a point in front of you. Grabbing the left big toe with your index, middle finger and thumb on the left hand. Extend and open to the side. Of course, you can keep your knee bent or even hold your knee here. This is something to work on and progress with over a period of time. You don't have to get it the first time. Here, I'm gonna extend my leg in front of me and slowly transition into warrior three one more time. And jump back into Chaturanga, upward facing dog, back to Chaturanga, exhale in downward facing dog and prepare for the opposite side. We're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side, so really be prepared for all this balancing sequence. Left foot comes in, come up, warrior two. Reach way ahead of you with your left hand and bring the left hand on the floor in front of the left foot, stacking the hips on top of each other, flexing the right foot, pull the toes back in towards you. Either stay here or you can reach behind you and grab your ankle. Tuck your tailbone under. Open the chest. Next level, optional, is to go into standing half splits with holding your ankle or not holding your ankle. You can let it go. And let's prepare for warrior three. Level the hips, bring your hands over your heart. From warrior three, we're gonna come up to standing and bring the right knee into the rib cage. Let's grab the right big toe with the right hand and slowly open the leg out to the side. Left arm is reaching out for balance, and you can try to look over your right hand. Great. Slowly come back to center, lift your leg, extend it in front of you and transition into warrior three. And let's jump back. Chaturanga, upward facing dog, and a well-deserved break in child's pose. Bring your hands by your feet and allow your head to be heavy here. Let your forehead be heavy on the ground. Allowing the shoulders to be heavy as well. And let's inhale the hands over the head, coming up on all fours. Lifting the knees off the floor, slowly lower down onto your belly. prepare for Sphinx pose here. Engaging the quadriceps to lift the kneecaps here, curl the toes back, opening the chest, opening the space between the collarbones, allowing the shoulder blades to tuck back and down into the back. The hands and forearms are pressing down to open the chest. The elbows are pressing back to tuck the shoulder blades in, extending the tailbone down towards your heels here, rotating the outer thighs down towards your mat, and inner thighs are slightly rotating up so that the tailbone can extend down. Lengthen the back of your neck here and really focus on your breath, taking nice and slow, deep breaths in, exhaling very slowly through the nose, cultivating Ujjayi breath. Engaging the abdominal muscles here. You don't want to flex your belly, but you do want to lift your belly, lower belly off the floor by engaging your core. And you can look over one shoulder and then the other, maintaining the length of your neck. Great, let's bring the hands underneath the shoulders and press all the way back in Child's Pose. Soften your belly. This was a really great and active back bend. And here we're gonna prepare for headstand. If you're not familiar with headstand, please practice downward facing dog for 5 to 10 breaths, paying attention to the subtleties of downward facing dog. Otherwise, bring your elbows about shoulder width apart, hands are clasping together, stacking the pinky fingers next to each other. You can slowly lift your legs up, hold for as long as you need to, and slowly and in control lower down whenever you're done with your headstand. To relax after a headstand, always go into Child's Pose. Salamba Sirsasana. And from here, we're gonna go back into downward facing dog. Take the right leg up, roll the right hip on top of the left hip, bend your knee, bring your toes behind you, opening the hip here, opening the inner thigh, stretching the hamstrings, lifting. Great. And let's bring the right shin bone on the floor in front of us. Hips are level with the floor. Tailbone is an extension of the spine here, lifting the rib cage away from the hips. With this alignment, you can lower down in pigeon. Make sure halfway through your pigeon pose, you're not changing the integrity or compromising the integrity of the pose here. Your alignment should remain the same. If you need to back off, you can slowly come up and walk your hip in forward towards your right heel. Basically, you're decreasing the space between your right heel and your hip. The closer your heel is to your hip, the easier or less intense this stretch will be in your hip. And the opposite is true as well. If you feel that you have overcome a certain flexibility boundary you've had before, you can come up and slowly walk your left leg back away from you to bring your right heel further away from your hip, maintaining the alignment of the hips. They should be equal distance from the floor. and that will give you a little deeper opening in your hip. Over time, the space or the distance between your right heel and your left hip should increase. It doesn't have to be in a single yoga session. It can take months or even years depending on your body. So try to be conscious of where your body is at this moment and try not to force anything. Try to yield into your practice. Here you're paying attention to your breath, taking nice deep inhalations and exhaling through your hips. Allow your mind to be empty. Focus only on your breath and stay present. Always feel free to stay a little longer in pigeon pose if you need to. If it's one of your places of challenge and stagnation, stay in pigeon for 5 minutes on each side, provided you can maintain the alignment. And let's come up. Walk your hands back in towards you. Bring them by your hips and go into a little back bend. Let's bring the hands on the floor, spread the fingers open and lift back up into one-legged downward facing dog, drawing circles with your right knee here. And let's go over to the left side. Lift your left leg up. Left hip on top of the right hip. You can come onto the tippy toes on the right side. Lift your knee as high as you can and breathe into your inner thigh on the left side, really on both sides. And let's lower the left shin bone on the floor. Find the place that perfectly suits you here and stay there for at least a minute or two, and then you can progress it and go deeper or back off. Once you know exactly where your shin bone should be in relation to your hips, you can lower down, maintaining elongated back. Your spine should be elongated here, no tension in your neck. Relax your tongue, soften your gaze. You can close your eyes and look in towards your third eye as you focus on your breath, turning the gaze inward, focusing more on what's going on the inside and allowing the external to disappear and become less important. Try to relax your shoulders. In pigeon, try not to hold your tension in there. Most of the mistakes I see in classes are related to this pose are the hips are misaligned and there's too much tension in the shoulders. Try to relax your body, soften your jaw, soften your gaze. Soften your tongue and focus on the breath. Try not to contract your hips. If you go too far into a stretch, you will contract the muscles you're supposed to stretch. So always stay in the place where the stretch feels somewhat pleasant. You don't want to make this an unpleasant practice. You want to enjoy your yoga practice so you can come back to it over and over again. Yeah, we do enjoy the fruits of the practice, but the point is to enjoy the process, the path. And let's come back up. Walk your hands in towards you. going into a back extension. And when you're ready, spread your fingers open and lift back into downward facing dog, staying off of your left leg, drawing a few circles with your left knee. Breathe into your hip. And let's bring the knees down on the floor and come into a seated pose. Let's open the chest, extend the legs in front of us. Lift, inhale your hands over your head, and exhale, lower down. Go about 80% of how far down you can go. And just stay there for a breath or two, and then you can continue and go a little deeper. Inhale, come up. You can grab the flesh from underneath your legs and move it away from your bones. And go one more time. Inhale your hands over your head. Exhale, soften and lower yourself down towards your thighs, holding either your legs, ankles, or feet, whatever you can reach. Be fine with where you're at with your practice. And when you come out of this, round your back and slowly lower yourself down onto your back. And we're gonna reach ahead of us with our hands and begin to lift one leg at a time off the floor, pressing the lower back down into the mat and keeping the chest open. Alright, now let's lift both legs off the floor and begin to lower one leg at a time, halfway down, and then the other halfway down. Stay really balanced here without jerking and moving too rapidly. Try to be in control of your moves. Keep moving your legs up and down, and try to bring both legs together at the top and at the bottom position. Next is lift one leg up, one is hovering over the ground, and then switch sides. If you feel that you have the lower back and core strength, try to lower your lifted leg down next to the bottom leg and then lift it. This adds a lot more to the practice. Next one is gonna be lifting one leg up and reaching on the outer side of the leg with both hands clasping. Great. You can repeat that sequence, abdominal sequence, one or two more times, and when you're done, continue with supine twists. Let's bring the feet hip width apart. The toes should be pointing forward, so the inner, or rather the outer edges of your feet are parallel to each other. Lift your toes off the floor, bring your forearms up, palms of the hands facing each other, and come into bridge pose. If you're familiar with wheel, Chakrasana, you can go into wheel pose, bringing the hands by your ears and lifting up into wheel pose, or stay in bridge. To come out of this, slowly lower one vertebra at a time down on the mat, and you can bring one hand on your belly, one on your heart, and then go one more time into bridge or Chakrasana. Feet and knees should be pointing forward. In whichever one you choose to do, the knees should be pointing forward so that your tailbone is aligned and your lower back is extended. There is no compression in the lower back. Slowly lower down again on the ground on your back, And let's prepare for plow pose. Bring your hands down on the floor and lift your legs up and over your head, bringing the feet all the way behind your head. Bring your hands on your lower back, walk your elbows in as close to each other as you can. Shimmy the shoulders in. Keep your hands on your lower back if your feet are not touching the floor. Otherwise, you can clasp your hands and press them down into your mat. If your feet are touching the floor, bring the tops of your feet on the floor, the nail side of your feet on the floor. And try to soften the back of your throat here. The next thing is to lift into shoulder stand, hands on the lower back, legs lifting together, up over the head. And you can lower your knees on the outsides of your ears. And one more time, plow pose. We're gonna lift into shoulder stand, and this time we're gonna bring the knees, both knees together on the outside of one ear. Lifting back up into shoulder stand, and let's lower the knees over towards the other ear. This is a really gentle inversion twist, very beneficial for your spine. To come out of this and to lower back down on the floor, begin to slowly lower your back down on the floor, one vertebra at a time, keeping your legs as close to your chest as possible. Slowly and with control, lower your legs down on the floor. Make yourself comfortable for Shavasana. Allow your feet to drop to the sides, palms of the hands facing up, shoulders relaxing on the ground. Take a big breath in and exhale with a sigh through your mouth. And one more time, big breath in and exhale through your mouth. Third one, big breath in, exhaling through the mouth with a ha, and just relax. Namaste, everyone.